Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Renee, and today we are going to can turnips. I harvested some beautiful turnips, and I'll show you, out of our garden the other day. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, and a couple of squash too. Nice ones. But anyway, we're going to can these today, and I'm going to show you how to do this. We will be using the pressure canner, and I will take you step by step and show you exactly how to do this so that you are not afraid of your pressure canner. Let me get these washed and peeled and chopped up, and I'll bring you back and we'll get busy. Okay friends, these are all chopped up. Now we're going to rinse these. I rinsed them after I cut them, or after I peeled them, but you might get a little debris or dirt on them, so you want to rinse them real good. At least a couple times. Okay, that ought to be good. Alright, now we need to cook these. We need to cover these with water in our stock pot, and we're going to bring it to a boil, and we're just going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Alright, I'm going to turn that on. I never ever start, when you go to boil water or cook something in my pans, I never ever put it on high. I always put it on like medium high because I've just kept my pans so nice that way. So anyway, I've got this on medium high, and this is going to come up to a boil, and I'm going to time it for 5 minutes, and when the 5 minutes has elapsed, we will be back. Okay friends, now I'll tell you where I'm at with everything so that we can start canning these turnips up. They're done boiling. They're cooled down. Of course they cooled down. I had company, so they cooled down a little bit. But I've got my water boiling on the stove to fill my jars. My jars are, I'm doing this in pints, they're in my oven. Okay? They're in my oven at 215 degrees because they're clean and I'm just getting them hot. I've got my lids and rings over here on the counter. I'll show you. I've got my towel on the counter here. I've got my funnel. I've got my salt, which you don't have to put salt in your stuff. You don't always have to add salt. Salt is just added strictly for flavor. But I do put a little bit of salt in my potatoes and my turnips just for the added flavor. So I've got that. And then I've also got myself a wet piece of paper towel to wipe my rims. And I've got my little magnet stick that I use for a debubbler. So with that being said, my water's probably just about ready to go here. It's going to start boiling in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the jars out of the oven because they're probably good and screaming hot. And then we'll start filling them. And I do my canning in steps. I know some people get their jars ready and then they put them right smack into their hot canner. And, that's okay. That's a good idea. But I do mine in steps. I get my jars filled. I get the rings and lids put on them, and then I get my canner ready. So, these are all hot. And I'm putting mine in pints. Okay, let me move them back a little bit. These are screaming hot. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drain it off. Now you might want to use a slotted spoon. I don't have a slotted spoon, and the one I do have probably wouldn't fit. So I just drain it on the side a little bit. And you only want them an inch from the top. You have to have an inch head space with turnips. Okay? I could probably put a couple more in there. And I'm hoping you can see that alright. But I think I'm going to move you around. Now I think you can see me a little bit better. So we're going to move that over to there. Get these filled up. These are going to be wonderful in soups. That's all we really ever use it for. Unless my mother, at times, will just, you know, take them out and mash them up like potatoes because she loves them that way. But I keep them in chunks like this because I use mine in soups. Okay. Fill them up like so. I'll get these all filled up. And then by that time my water will be boiling in my teapot and we'll be ready to put the salt and fill these up and finish them up and get them in a canner. So let me fill these and we'll be back. Okay friends, let me put this aside because these are all filled. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I usually put about a half a teaspoon of salt in a pint. And this is canning salt, pickling salt actually. I just put a half a teaspoon in each one. I always put that in there before I add the water to it. And I did get 11 pints and that's nice. Alright, so now we're going to add the water to our jars. Actually, you know what? It'll see me better now. Okay, so this is... Ooh, that's a little warm. And I'm only going to fill it up to 1-inch headspace. Now after you debubble them, you probably will be able to put more liquid in them. And there's two reasons why you debubble these. The first and foremost is that you don't want any air in these jars during the processing if you can help it, because if there's trapped air in there, when this food expands and in the processing, it expels that air from the jar, and if there's air left in that jar, it will pull out those bubbles and you'll have siphoning, or you'll get debris under your lid and it won't seal. It won't always seal right. So it's very important that you debubble the jars. Other than that, the air pockets in these jars can harbor bacteria. So, bacteria that may survive processing. So, now what we're going to do is we're just going to debubble these. And I just run this down all along the sides. See, that's perfect. I don't even have to add any to that. That's a perfect 1-inch headspace there. And there's another one. I don't look by the looks of it, I'm not going to have to add any to any of these. But what you don't want to do is use anything metal on this jar, because it could crack the edge of your jar where the seal goes, and you know, the rim of your jar. And if that cracks, your chances of it sealing are slim to none. So you always want to make sure you debubble them. And it's that simple. You can even use a rubber spatula, you can use the end of a wooden spoon, or you can use the little plastic debubbler that comes in the kit for your equipment or your utensils. Okay, that one, actually that one's good. And that is good too. Boy, I bet you I couldn't do this again if I tried. That one's a good headspace too. Okay. That is good. I want to see if I got any air bubbles in here that I can show you, and I don't see any. So they're probably down in the middle. But you can see the air coming up. When you see the bubbles coming up to the top, that, you know for sure you're getting the air bubbles out. And I don't have any in this one, any of these that have any air pockets in them to show you so that we can correct it. I got all the air out of them. So we'll move on to the next step. We are going to wipe our rims. And you always wipe your rims. I just use a damp paper towel if I am doing vegetables. However, if I have meat in there, then I use vinegar because it cuts any grease that may be on your rim. But you always wipe these off. And if you forget, it's better to just take them all apart again and wipe them lids, wipe the rims and replace the lids than it is to go all the way through and, you know, have to reprocess the jar again. Or take a chance on, you know, losing your food because the seal didn't. It didn't seal. Okay, so those are all wiped off. Now, like I told you when we do, when I told you about the lids and the rings, you no longer have to boil these. But you certainly don't want, you want to take every precaution you can to not touch that, you know, the orange sealant on there. So we're just going to put them on there, and we're going to put them on finger tight. Okay? It's that simple. Okay, so those are all ready to go in the canner. Okay, friends, you can see in the bottom that I've got the rack in the bottom of my canner. Okay, we're going to set that on the stove. I have to move this aside. You're going to center it right on your burner. Now, for the most part, you need to read your manufacturer's directions for your canner, you know, to get it to operate it the first time. Mine always used to say at least 2 quarts or about 3 inches of water. So you see I'm putting that in there. Okay. That's not quite 3 inches, so I'm just going to take the rest of the hot water from my teapot, and that's a good 3 inches. See, well, let me see here. We'll bring you up here so you can see it. See the water in there? That's a good 3 inches up. Okay? That's what you want. Alright, now the best thing to do so that your jars don't get cloudy from the sediment from the, you know, the water is, oh, I put maybe 1/8 of a cup of just a shot of vinegar in there. And that, you know, that works as a, it keeps your jars clean. It's like a dual purpose. It keeps the schmutz or whatever you want to call it, the cloudy off your jars, and it cleans your jars very nicely. So with that being said, I want to heat this up before I put my jars in there. Okay, friends, this is nice and heated up. Now the reason why I heat this is because you don't want to take these hot jars and put them in cold water, put them in a cold canner in cold water, because you're going to create what's called thermal shock. And you are going to run a high risk of the jars breaking right along here, right along the bottom of your jar. They will bust and you'll lose that whole jar of food. Okay, now see how that is. I've got 8 pints on the bottom. Okay? Now, this is how you can stack them. You can never, ever, ever stack these jars on top of each other. You need to put that tray down. That's why I always got 2 to 3 trays, just to have, I always have extras. But I got a tray down there, you can see that. These can go right up here like this. And it does not have to be a canner full. You can run 3 of them up there. Okay? Now, I'm going to put my booger of a lid on here because it's always a booger to get on because of that ring. See that ring? Oh, that ring makes me so mad sometimes. But I love this canner, and I don't never want to really part with it. Okay, we got it on there. All right. Now, I got it on there. I got to get it centered back here again. I got it centered back on my stove. Okay? So now, this vent right here, when this canner heats up, it's going to start spewing steam out the vent. When it does that, you need to time it for 10 minutes. It has to spew a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. That removes all the air from the inside of your canner, which will ensure that it will reach the proper temperature during the processing time. So when this starts spewing, I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to show you what to look for. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but you can hear that spewing. That's going to spew for 10 minutes. So we're going to set the timer on the stove. We're going to go 10. And there we go. Okay, friends. This has been going 10 minutes and you can really see it spewing now. So I got my 10 pounds of pressure. That's for my altitude. You can always look and check where your altitude is as to what pressure you need to use. So I'm going to put this right on here. You don't have to be afraid to do this. Just put it right on there. 10 pounds. It's ready to go. Now, you don't start timing it at this point. You wait until that starts to jiggle, which is not going to take long. Okay, friends, you see that jiggling. You want it to do that little jiggle and dance about 4 to 5 times a minute. My canner's on high. I'm going to turn mine right down to medium, only because I know, where mine sits at. Now it's going to take a little bit for that, continuous jiggling to slow down to where it's supposed to be, but it will get there. But you see, it jiggles and it wiggles and it dances around there. And it's just regulating the pressure in the canner. I'm standing right here. Nothing to be scared of here. It's fine. See it stop. So now, after that, the next one, I should get about 4 to 5 of them a minute. When I hear it with mine, I'll hear it when it starts jiggling a little more. I'll know I need to come and turn it down, or it might not jiggle enough, so I'll need to turn it up a little bit. But usually if I keep mine at medium, it works good. But anyway, this is when we're going to start timing it, when it started to jiggle. And with the turnips, we're going to time that for 30 minutes because they're pints. If you're quarts, then you do it for 35 minutes. But these are pints. See it jiggle again? And then it'll stop. I just want, see that? That's regulating the pressure inside the canner. It should do that about 4 to 5 times a minute. So we're going to let this go, and when this is done, I'll bring you back and I'll show you, how to finish it all up. See it going again? Perfect. Okay, friends, so my timer just went off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my burner off, and I'm not going to touch this. I am going to leave this. It will release its pressure. The pressure will release as it cools down all on its own. And when I can comfortably touch the top of this canner, that's when we'll open it up and see how well we did. Okay, friends, I have let this all, the pressure come out of it all naturally on its own and cool down. And look, it's still a little warm, but I can put my hands on it. Okay, so I'm going to take that off because I know there's no steam coming up. There's no pressure in it. Open this away from you because even though you can touch this, steam's going to come out of this because it's still hot on the inside. So open that away from you so you don't get a steam burn. Alright, now we're just going to reach in here and look at how gorgeous those turned out. We're going to set those right on our towel. Absolutely beautiful. They turned out gorgeous. Look at that. Perfect. What a lovely addition to your pantry, friends. Okay, now we got to get another piece out. And that, you know, is way too hot to touch. So I just take a fork and I lift it out with a fork. Simple. Put it in my sink because I wash them every time I use them. Alright, now we'll gather these. Same thing. They're absolutely gorgeous. And a lot of times when I just leave my canner cool down on its own and, you know, let the pressure all out of it all naturally, usually my jars are all sealed by that time. But there's a couple I'm pulling out that aren't sealed. I can see them, but they're still up a little bit. And that's it, friends. Let me move this canner aside so you'll be able to see how nice these jars turned out. Perfect. And that's it. Now they're just going to stay here. It's like 7 o'clock at night. They're just going to stay here on the counter just the way they are. Okay? Until tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow morning I'll make sure they're all sealed. And then I'll wash them just like I wash my dishes. I wash my jars. And then I'll label them, and in my pantry they go. So, there you have it. That's how easy it is to use your pressure canner. Now, I certainly hope this will inspire some of you to get past the fear of that pressure canner and start preserving some food. You all have a good day, and thanks for watching.